Hi, this is Kelsey Blaho, and this is AEP 959, Module 9, the case study. So first, just going to look at kind of the summary and establishing facts. So first up, what has happened or what is happening. So Triscuit Middle School is kind of the main focus of this, and they have annual scores that are below expectations on some state achievement tests. Students appear to be doing poorly on short answers and some extended essay prompts. They're uncomfortable answering these types of things. So one other big thing to point out is they moved from a traditional 7-period day to a 4-period day, which is 84 minutes. And so there's a lot that can kind of happen in that transition. I know a lot of schools in our district are going through that right now, but trying to emphasize the technology-rich curriculum and take advantage of kind of those academic components of the 84-minute. Then just included a quote here from the case study. So what didn't happen, I don't think there was much consulting staff, students, or parents on kind of that shift. Maybe there just wasn't a ton of information on it. So trying to focus on that component, and then also, just trying to gather as much information as possible. When and where, so Triscuit Middle School, 650 students, 80 staff, Rockford School District in a large metro area, so that's all that we're given. So they have annual scores, below expectation. So students are taught what they don't know. Curriculum is built on deficit, built on repairing weakness. So those are kind of some of the other big components of it. So Kim, she's an assistant principal. It's kind of the main focus of this. And then here's just kind of a breakdown of the students that are a part of the school. So big majority are African American, and then big majority of the staff is Caucasian, which I found really interesting. And then approximately 65% of students receive free and reduced. There's pretty limited parent involvement. So that's kind of something I want to touch on later. And then what have the parties involved had to say about it? So it seems like in the past, teachers were not super supportive of what Kim was trying to do, trying to get them on board with more technology, changing kind of how they do things. So that's one big thing we want to work on. Section 2, legal ethical issues. With this, I didn't find too many. So again, I don't think there are any legal or ethical issues. I don't think anyone was harmed by the action or decision. I think staff and students might be frustrated with the change. And then, doesn't deal with any laws. There was no breach of contract. There were no discriminatory actions that constitute harassment. I think going back, one thing that we might want to look at, but it wasn't really mentioned, is just what technology sites are being used. So my thought was maybe creating a sheet that says here's some sites that you can use, because I know there's lots of laws around student privacy and what they can use. So I know she's wanting to increase technology, so trying to find a way that we can also be safe about it is important. Section 3, so just kind of more summary. So, in a nutshell, Kim, a middle school principal, made a change to 84-minute class periods and added more digital literacy to curriculum in an attempt to win over staff and students and increase test scores. So, that's just kind of it all summed up. And then some missing facts. So, here's kind of some things. People, so perspective from parents and students. We kind of have place, kind of don't. We just know it's in a metro area, so that's kind of all we're given. Program, they didn't talk about too many tutoring, after school, other things that are happening to help students. So it's important to identify kind of some of this missing information, so then we can kind of paint a full picture, and if we don't have that info, we can't. So I think kind of addressing some of that is important. The value of missing info, so I think it's really important because it says Triscuit is in its second year of school improvement. Other interventions have already been put in place. I think it would be important to know what those other interventions are before moving forward in kind of a game plan, because if we're just copying a bunch of stuff, I feel like maybe it's not as important. But trying to find what's already in place. And then 5, review and prioritize info. So here's just kind of some important stuff that I thought. So again, trying to increase improvement or achievement scores, create new assessments, investigate and demonstrate actual ways in which technology integration is occurring. So demoing, showing teachers examples, engage staff in productive conversations about technology, and then update curriculum with digital literacy. So I put the 2 things that I think we're trying to achieve here. So directive, informational, and collaborative. I feel like it should be kind of a mixture of both. Yeah, I feel like teachers should be highly encouraged to go one direction. I don't think we've gotten to the point of directive control, but I think trying to have teachers be a part of the process will hopefully help Kim's situation. Okay, here's how I would have handled things. So I just put a couple key points of what we were trying to focus on the most in here. So reach out to other teachers, create a group that can come up with new curriculum, pay them extra, feed them. I feel like teachers always like those 2 things and kind of help motivating. And I think just giving time also for teachers is super important. So giving them a space and time to actually sit down and do this stuff is crucial. Connect with students, figure out what they need. I'm not sure if students have been asked their perspective. Meet with as many teachers as possible, gather as much data as possible. Once they have that curriculum figured out, present it to staff, have a staff meeting, give breakout sessions. Again, I think time is crucial for staff to ask questions, get more information, work on things more in depth. And then professional development days, if there are some things that come up and there's a majority of people that are like, wait a second, how do we do this? And then trainings for how to use new technology, I think is crucial. Instead of it just being random, I think there needs to be some time for people to process and then offer days kind of for who needs it. Reach out to parents, inform them of changes, ask them what the school can be doing better. And then I would kind of chunk out, like, here's what we're doing the first semester. We're going to change this one thing. Here's what we're doing next semester. Here's what we're doing next year. So just chunk it out and just make it a lot smaller chunks. So slow transition. And then here's kind of another part that I wanted to touch on. I think it's important, and I know our staff has kind of talked about it. So the lack of parent involvement, I think, is kind of important. So this is kind of what I've actually thought of doing at our school, but trying to implement it is quite a challenge. So trying to do virtual and in-person parent-teacher conferences at the same time, I think could be really beneficial if a parent can't make a certain time. So again, I still think they should sign up, that kind of thing. Provide a basic meal for family. It could be pasta and salad, and this could be a fundraiser for different clubs. Provide childcare so that more parents can attend. And I think both of those could be student run with obviously staff supervision, but I think it could be a cool way to bring the community together. Offer translators, again, for the various language barrier. Maybe more parent nights for tutoring support throughout the year, rather than just like the one night. I know parents and staff don't necessarily like coming multiple nights, but just to give a couple options for parents would be good. And then just trying to offer more interactive things and more ways for parents to feel connected rather than just those one nights, I think could be really important. I know we've talked about doing a community garden, having more parents involved that way. So yeah, just kind of some ideas and some other things I wanted to touch on. Evaluating my plan. Overall, some cons. It can take a lot of time. Maybe there's not enough resources, staff acceptance still not there. Yeah, so there's kind of a lot with that. Some pros. Community involvement, staff and student connection, technology integration, slow and steady. So I think there's some good things going here. 8, develop my plan. So I think we addressed all the major concerns, especially parent involvement as well as more inclusion, just making staff feel part of the decision. Yeah, and then just trying to address what's kind of already been done, what's working, what's not working, that kind of thing. 9, So I really want to try and implement both paths that I picked and try and slowly add them in, because I think if there's too drastic change, I think it's just going to be hard for everybody. I think some staff still might not be on board, but trying to help ease them into it and then have them be a part of the process is really important. Also, I know with resources, so finding grants, other programs that can help with tutoring, getting more staff into the building, that kind of thing. Community involvement, always a good thing, so trying to find ways to get parents and students on the same page. And then I think everyone should kind of be involved in who needs to know, so staff, students, parents, teachers, board members, state leaders, because there's going to be kind of some drastic changes, so I think those things, again, drastic changes, but over a longer period of time. I think a lot of people need to be involved in that. I don't really see any issues arising, but if there are, again, trying to address those. And I mentioned earlier student privacy, especially with technology, maybe creating that do not use list, or kind of some tips for how to do it safely. Again, I think the idea would be to start small, choose one area to really focus on. So maybe it is incorporating more technology. Maybe it is having more tutoring programs. If it's just really not working, just pick one thing to focus on. Maybe it's a test prep thing. Maybe it's study groups, tutoring options, more staff, whatever it might be. Just pick one thing and really focus on that if everything's not going super smoothly. 10. So here's my correlation. So again, I was able to look at what's currently happening, how I would modify, change it, come up with a plan for everyone to kind of buy in. So I kind of mentioned what our school's currently doing, staff, so I feel like it's really relevant to what we're talking about. And then also just trying to find ways to improve my technology use in the classroom, I think is important. And then so just trying to find ways to also bridge that gap with diversity among staff, I think is important. And I know it was kind of touched on a little bit in the case study, but just trying to find ways to work on the teacher candidate program and that kind of thing. So finding ways to motivate teachers, motivate students that might want to become teachers, all that good stuff. So took a lot away from this one. And then here's my references. Thank you.